But this is good. I'd love to see just with the whole plethora of it all, with college sports up in general. So to talk about it and all, locking on onto the portal here and also with Florida State, Brian Smith joins us. It was great. We had two previous guests and, talking all of college sports, and so to me, I love it because it's very tribal. You go into college towns and people are invested. You could see it from the atmosphere every Saturday. And then even when you're up and in the court, you're in the arenas. So explaining a lot about the transfer portal because it is a big thing, right? And so to me, I've always looked at it as number one, if you're not a guaranteed starter, you could be a guaranteed starter somewhere. Someone will obviously take you. And correct me if I'm wrong. In college sports, right, the player chooses you because of what you're investing in and what you see about it, and you're getting the best out the program. Whereas in the NFL, you kind of got to pick the player that really works in the system that you have. So looking at it into the portal, because we've watched it all, and we're going to break it down as well, because we've seen Carson Beck now go to Miami, Nico now going to UCLA. This is becoming a huge entire impact in college sports, and it's making it more and more interesting every single season, isn't it?
It is more interesting, but at the same time, it's not something that you're going to see go away, but at the same time, it's going to change some more with all the house litigation and all that stuff. It's crazy. I'm not a fan of all the stuff they're trying to do. There's going to be lawsuits coming, but that's the recruiting side of this.
Yeah.
The portal, though, gives some schools a chance, but otherwise, yeah, they weren't going anywhere. The depth at Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, etc., they can get picked on a little bit. Damon Wilson just left Georgia. He was a big-time sack guy. He goes to Missouri.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming, but I knew Damon in high school. He was from down in Florida. He benched 420, recruited by everybody. Didn't see him ending up at Missouri. Pre-portal, that never would have happened. So it's balanced the field a little bit. Look at Indiana. That staff took over. They bring 13 guys from their old school. It was something crazy. Look, I went to Indiana. They have always sucked at football. So they're terrible. They're all-time number one in losses at the P4 level. Not the stat you want to lead in, but they just went 11-1 in the regular season.
Yeah, it's interesting though, right? And I mean, look, Curt Cignetti, take aside from the fact of he's just himself, right? And even Nick Saban even said it himself. He's like, I may have showed him a lot of things. I didn't show that part of him that, and going into the playoffs and just, seeing that toe-to-toe matchup in South Bend. But yeah, especially for, programs even like Indiana, because I've always known them to be a really good, well-respected basketball school. But then now we got football, and it's like things are kind of changing up. But, it's interesting because even, Miami, we know that they had arguably best prospect in the NFL, Cam Ward, go to Tennessee. Now they're starting the year off where they come in and bring in Carson Beck. And it may change the plethora of this offense. But to me personally, I don't know. It may be interesting because, again, suffering an injury, having to come back from an injury, spending another year in college, it's going to be a different change. How do you kind of outlook this on Carson Beck and what that offense may look like for the Hurricanes?
I know what it's like to have an elbow injury. It's not fun. Coming back from that, but then having 300-pound men want to run into you, I worry about him mentally. By the way, their first game, the Fighting Irish come down to South Florida. That will not be a friendly defense.
Yeah.
They're pretty nasty. I don't know how he recovers from that mentally game one. You want the Bethune-Cookman game, no offense to them, first. Miami's not going to admit that. But the schedule is the schedule. And kudos to him for coming back, putting his name out there saying, I'm better than this, where they're projecting me in the draft. I'm going to play another year. Okay. But the portal gave him a chance at a new opportunity. Miami needed a quarterback, so it's a win-win. For that situation, it's good. Most of the time, the portal, the kids go in because they think they're better than they should be. About half the kids don't end up anywhere. That's the problem with the portal. And there's a lot of bad actors telling kids to get in the portal. That's a whole other discussion. obviously Carson Beck is an upper echelon player. He doesn't have to worry about that. And he reportedly, depending on who you believe, made a whole bunch of money to go down to Coral Gables. So I like that there's some of this because, again, we get more quick fixes and we get some of these weird stories like the Mensa kid went from Tulane to Duke for I don't know how many million. Like, who knew Duke was going to spend money on football?
Yeah.
So it's funny how it kind of just switches around.
Yeah.
It's more fun than it used to be because we kind of knew who everybody was going to win every year.
Right.
Not that way anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like it's leveling the playing field in itself because we're not seeing a whole lot of like, even with what the NBA, we're not seeing a bunch of super teams and dynasties. Everybody's trying to get their hands in the pot, right? They're trying to get the best players they got available in the transfer portal. They're obviously, like I've always said this, that shouldn't stop you as well from recruiting because you got to have a future. You got to have a bright future working on the positions that you want to be over the top at. I was speaking about this conversation, and I'd love your outlook up on this, but a few months ago, with the situation with Nico Imalov, I said it this way, is I think he had such a great future with Tennessee because they were building everything together for him where they got, more weapons. They got him, a team that they could go over the top after they just planted their mark in the college football playoff. Now, unfortunately, it didn't go the way it did, but he got a taste of it. And then all of a sudden he was seeking more money. And a lot of it was family. The camp was up and involved. And to me, it felt like he was just listening to a bunch of people. I personally am like, as a parent type of figure, I'm like, blaze your own trail. Because at the end of the day, I'm giving you the resources. I'm giving you at least the tools for you to go out there and blaze your own trail and, build your potential. So now he's in UCLA. And I'll be honest, Brian, I see this being a 4-win team. I just think with UCLA, they're going to be wildly overwhelmed. You're in the Big Ten. If you think the SEC was that much of competition, just wait till you get into the trenches with the Big Tens like your Michigans, your Ohio States, and all of them. He's going to get a taste of that. And I think, isn't that kind of a little bit of a reality check for Nico after this move?
Well, I think it's more of a reality check for the people around him. I had a chance to be around Nico during his recruitment a few times. Great guy. Everybody likes him. The camp around him, I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. Nico's talent is insane. For those who don't know, as far as athleticism, he was the nation's #1 male volleyball recruit. #1. So he's a freak. He has the strongest arm I think I've ever seen at the high school level for a quarterback too, like ridiculous. So all the physical traits are there. UCLA's building a nice recruiting class, this, that, and the other, but they're miles from where Tennessee was, especially in the trenches, just like you were talking about. Could they win 6 or 7 games this year? It's possible, but they're just not a program ready to win right now. They're down the road. So I just hope he doesn't get beat up too much.
Yeah.
Because Tennessee's offensive line is on another level. Yeah, Tennessee still didn't have the weapons to win a national title this year necessarily, but what is he throwing to at UCLA? They did get the transfer from Cal, the running back, who's really, really good. I think he's an NFL player, but I don't know if they've got offensive weapons, tight end, receiver that are going to make it in their O-line. We'll see. So sometimes this can bite you. Be careful for what you ask for is an old saying, and I'm just going to use it now. But hopefully he has learned, regardless of what the people around him have done, finish it out at UCLA. You're still a millionaire. I mean, even if he never plays it down in the NFL, he never has to work again. Life is pretty good. So take those experiences and move on. And I imagine somebody in the NFL is going to try to put him at least on the practice squad if it doesn't work out great at UCLA down the road, because that arm is insane.
Oh, 100%. And there's even another opportunity where he could even enter his name back up and in the portal if things don't work out from there and really kind of build that potential up. Because I do see him as that dual threat quarterback where he's very highly talented and somebody's going to really unlock, the biggest potential to get him up and over the top and be a top 5, Heisman candidate at some point, So, even around the state of Florida, I mean, there are so much highly prospected and talented players, coming from it, whether it's, from the secondaries, the weaponries, running backs, and, lucky enough, you get a quarterback here or two. The state of Florida has done such a great job with just a lot of these kids out of high school and then going up into a lot of these big schools like around the SEC. Or you're lucky enough, you get an over-the-top receiver to go into the Big Ten. So, seeing that and a lot of these recruiting classes, the state of Florida, it's just continuing to build a lot of these high talented prospects here and there to really impact and shape an offense or even a secondary, right?
Yeah, the state of Florida defensive backs, they're famous. The 2020 team that Bama had, their secondary was all from not just Florida, but from Broward County, where Fort Lauderdale is. All four. So that kind of puts things in perspective. Yeah, it's a loaded state for skill talent. There were more players from Florida in the NFL this past year, I think, than any other state. And they had more first-round picks or something like draft picks, something like that. It's ridiculous. And I've scouted there a long time. I recently moved to Alabama, but I just do a big loop all the time. Alabama, Georgia, Florida. That's where all the events are. So most of the scouts live down south like I do, and we go to these events. And you throw a rock, you hit a Division I player. So everybody wants to run track and play football. That's what it is. It's crazy.
Yeah. So my co-host of mine, he really was hoping to at least get, a scouter in up and onto the show. And luckily we were able to find one. So in your perspective, kind of like seeing from your eyes and in your mind, especially when it comes to scouting these players, are there some tangibles you see there? Like when you get, like, take for instance, like hypothetically, if you were to look at me and I'm a highly talented prospect out of high school, like whether it's a certain position or so, what are some of the key pointers from a scouter's perspective that you focus on and really kind of get your entire summary of what that kid's impact will be, even going into the collegiate level, and at some point have a brighter future and be prepared for that for the NFL level?
It's all about measurables. I know it's a really boring conversation, and parents get mad at me when I say this. Oh, what about the production? Well, I just go by what Kirby Smart and this guy, you've heard of him probably, Nick Saban, have said over and all. Speed, height, length, weight, developmental traits. They'll take the raw clay and they'll figure it out. God-given traits are the number one thing. So suddenness, the ability to change direction, especially laterally, those are the things we look for, like the Under Armour camps. We all go to the same ones, Atlanta, Orlando, Miami, stuff like that. You can tell real quick who the kids are. And usually the alphas will go to the front of the line too. The kids that keep going back to the front, that's something else we look. I hate the kid that's super talented that hangs out in the back. We write that stuff down. If you don't want to go out there and kick somebody's butt, you probably go down the list of the rankings. I mean, you've got to be the guy that goes out there and does it over and over, especially the guys that are ranked super high anyway, that already have 40, 50 offers that go to events like Jeremiah Smith. We all joked about it. Like Jeremiah said nothing. He's super quiet, introverted kid, but he went to all the 7-on-7 events. Didn't say nothing unless you said something to him. The only time he spoke was when it was really bad, when some idiot would talk trash to him. I'll let you figure out how that ended every single time. So those kids that have that mentality, just shut up. I'm going to do what I do. You ain't going to do nothing about it. Those kind of kids, the way they carry themselves, the way they train, those are the things we look for. And it usually stands out. You don't have to look for it very long. The harder kids to scout are the 3-star guys that have fringe physical traits. Jeremiah Smith was 6'3", 210, and he ran like a deer. He ran like 23 mile an hour at Ohio State his freshman year. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? That's not hard to scout. Yeah. It's the kid that's the fringe player. It's a little short, maybe not quite as heavy as you'd like for a position. Maybe he's a 4'6" guy. Kyron Williams, a lot of people didn't think he'd ever play it down at Notre Dame. He's obviously turned out okay. Everybody missed on that one.
Yeah.
Maybe the best running back in the NFL. He's certainly top 5. You know what I mean? It's just, so there are exceptions, but most of the time the measurables will lead you to the success.
And, I love that because honestly, it's a story that's well told, because of course you're going to obviously know like those high talented prospects that, right out the gate, what you're going to get. But then I think you said it perfectly, especially those ones that are just the right in-betweeners that we don't know if they will pan out or maybe they come in, right? And they go through camps, they go through OTAs and such. and then they become surprises in the end, even in the NFL level. And I'm like, I mean, because I love, watching a lot of these guys that go undrafted, right? But then all of a sudden, they're bigger stories in the end if they just hit that factor, And so it's a great story, well telling, And so a final question, and, it's more of a big one because covering the portal, the NIL, and the recruitment as itself, college sports is really changing. And I think a lot of that is because you're going to get players that are going to demand some money. Most of that is because depending on agency, depending on, some of these NIL sponsors and such. And usually a lot of these NIL sponsors, I'm sure you've seen them, they're mostly, very, very business, like they're business savvy. They know what they're going to do. But my thing is, when I look at the plethora of college football, to me, I love the sport, and I want to continue to see the sport be consistent with all these new additions, right? And so, to me, it's like you got to get a CEO in this building because at the end of the day, you're seeing programs get GMs now where they're really starting to handle up a lot of their money and then giving them a cap situation going in the near future. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but in the end, seeing this outlook, and we know that there's going to be repercussions, whether good or bad, but how we can make just college sports in general, because we know the NCAA, they're going to obviously have to figure this out one way or the other. But isn't it about that time where they really got to get a CEO in here? And the best fit of a CEO that can make that happen to make college football all the more enjoying for years to come.
Well, they're trying to do some of that. Like they've talked about having Saban and some of these other people, but that's this clearinghouse. I don't know how much you've looked into the house settlement. It's the most annoying thing. Like every deal over $600 has to go through the clearinghouse. I mean, look, if you try to tell rich people what to do with their money, they're just going to hide the money and send it to where they want to go anyway. That's not going to change. So recruits will just get paid like they used to with the McDonald's bags. But your overall theme with how things work, having Saban involved or somebody he's the easy pick, would be great. Unfortunately, the NCAA doesn't have much teeth anymore, if any, and nobody fears them. So, I mean, even the state of Tennessee already filed before the house settlement, hey, anything that happens with that, it doesn't apply within the state of Tennessee. I mean, if that's not just saying we don't care what the NCAA or anybody else thinks, the government, I don't know what else does. So I don't know if you curtail this, but trying is all you can do because everybody wants to have an advantage on their rival. That's how the AD stays employed and making millions. And that's how even assistants, man, Jake, assistants are making millions of dollars now, not just the head coaches. So getting that one more recruit keeps you employed and changes your family's trajectory. So they're going to cheat like crazy. Good luck to whoever tries to take on that task that you're talking about. That's going to be hard.
Yeah. And you're going to have a strong mind from there. Like just that, because it's funny because I'd always thought that Nick Saban would be that guy, but a lot of people all backlash and think, well, he's just more SEC bias. And I'm like, come on, man. All he's trying to do is just make the sport in itself better. Now, I would agree to this and correct me on this, but you look at around the regions. I mean, you're right there and up and in the heart of the SEC where it's right all around in that area. Then you got the North, you got the West Coast, and then right down up in South where you got Texas and the Midwest, and then right up there into the Northeast. But if you had a chair and at least the best minds that have known that region for a very long time and what it looks for and how it works, and then you work with all amongst the states in the region, I mean, couldn't that be a possibility as well where you've got a whole big group and there's many talented minds that can maybe make up for one big impact, and not only just in the football side, but even in just all college sports in general?
Well, if they had a committee of, say, 5 to 8 people or something, everybody gets represented in like regionally or something, that would be fine. But like, I don't know if you saw this, but the house settlement, the first lawsuit was thrown out. Not a surprise. Title IX. The words no athletic director ever wants to hear with the media or anything else. That makes them cringe and hide in a corner. So there's those kinds of things. And it's still going to end up being bureaucracy. But again, we need something that's a voice of reason. And even if you don't like Saban, if you follow college football, there's a pretty good chance you respect him. So if you put him on that, it'll probably go smoother till he didn't want to do it anymore. I mean, the guy's in his 70s now. But get somebody like that and a handful of other retired people. They're, assistant ADs, conference commissioners, business owners, whatever it may be. They need something because right now it is just dog eat dog, and they are trying to kill each other. All these schools are trying to steal players off each other's rosters. The reason there weren't spring games on ESPN like normal, literally, I had an SEC coach look me in the face and say, Brian, I don't want our game on TV because I want people trying to steal my players. We've got to figure out some things here. So maybe there is a way to do that. I don't know exactly how, but I'd like to have Saban involved. I know that.
Oh, 100%. Totally in agreement with it as well. Brian, appreciate you for coming on by, man, and expressing your insights up and on this, because this is a subject that we know that not a lot of people from outside looking in, they pay attention to a lot, but this is important stuff because it's like we love the sports, especially college football, but it's so important to even just get the gist of what's happening behind closed doors. And, and especially too, from not even just in college sports, but even when you go into a lot of these political realms, and into some of these states like Tennessee and Georgia and multiple others, I mean, you're going to see a lot of those effects and repercussions one way or another. But appreciate you for coming on by, my friend, and where people can find you to get all of the information that you provide here for the Locked On the Portal.
The Portal Podcast, wherever you get your pods, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, we're there. You can find me on X at FBScout_Florida or at LO_the portal. We have something about recruiting or the transfer portal, NIL, constantly, and I'm on all the different social media platforms. So if you like recruiting, especially right now, the next 3 weeks is going to be recruiting Armageddon. So all the visits are lining up to all the commitments.
I don't know if you've heard of one name. There's one of them that I actually had the opportunity to interview, and he's still up in Red Oak, Texas. But he's a very good kid. Yes. Love the kid. Had him up and on a separate show up from here. But I think that kid, he's going to be pretty impactful. If you put him in the right places with the right minds, especially on the wide receiver room, man, I said this, and maybe I'm a little bit high on Cloud 9, but I think he could be another impactful Tyreek Hill. Speedster, good hands, and even a little working on the route tree, But that kid's going to be something in the near future.
I saw him in 8th grade, and I knew. I saw him at a 7-on-7 tournament. He was running by guys that were Power 4 going into their senior year. I'm like, who is that? Yeah, he's on his official visit to Notre Dame this weekend. He's got offers from everybody. Great player.
Yeah, I could see him. It screams SEC to me. It really, really does.
Big time player.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you for coming on by, Brian. Enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy the weekend, my friend, and we'll see you soon. And yes, I'm definitely going to be active on these recruitments and all season long, especially with the transfer portal and such. Appreciate you for coming on by and bringing in the insights. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Absolutely. There's Chase. Well, I'll tell you what.
Hey.